brands of all-purpose paint. So this paint is non-toxic, it's vegan, it's all natural. It's made with aloe vera. It's also made with clay and also plant pigment.
Concept of, is it a race thing or is it a class thing, right? And it's really dangerous for us to fall into that notion that it's a class struggle and it's a class issue. She actually ends up discussing that. Even in this book, she's a civil rights attorney. She's saying clearly through her scientific expression of what she's experienced in this system, doing this work, that is not going to work. Reform is not the answer, right? So we have the Patriot Act in place, which means anybody who's deemed a terrorist, anybody who's against the state can be deemed a terrorist. Now, if you get labeled a terrorist, you can be detained indefinitely. Yep. You can be sent to Guantanamo indefinitely, no trial.
That's right.
And we've also in the midst of this transformation of what the terrorist looks like. It's no longer the Muslim with the head wrap and the turban. Now we're seeing black faces that look just like your average brother down the block that are being projected and filtered through the media to be this criminal terrorist, right? So that's the transformation. I see that as being the transformation. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I think the transformation of mass incarceration and the criminalization using drugs as a tactic will be this transformation to criminalizing and creating this idea of us being terrorists. Because we know what's up, we know what's happening, and people are waking up, people are revolting, people are standing up against the system, and they know that that's going to happen. So they put a protocol in place. We're going to shelf them right in, and we're going to shelf them even deeper than a prison. It's not even going to be a prison.
So I wanted to give you all an opportunity to hear from, I guess, from the inside of the prison complex, and basically more about like what goes on and how bad it is, because we only know what we see or what we hear, but yeah, no, but some people haven't had that experience. Like the most I've been is to the bookings, and I haven't seen what life is like on Rikers, or let alone in an actual penitentiary upstate. But I have my nephew here on the phone. He's 19. And so he's been in the system, I think, since he was 15. Am I right, Ramel? Oh, 16. My numbers are all excited. When he was 16, he was arrested on a gun charge, and he did 3 years. He was released on parole. And that in itself is a trap, because, you know, you are told, okay, you have a curfew, you have this, you can't have something. It's hard for a 19, 20, 21-year-old to be told you have to be home at 9 o'clock. And that's when, you know what I mean? Exactly. So the way that it's set up with intentions for them to fail. And this is why he's back in there now. And I feel like, you know, it's not his fault for being there. It's to lock someone up at such a young age for a crime like that they have to pay for the rest of their young adulthood and to basically the rest of their life, because now he's lived the felon. You know, he has to, when he's home, he has to try and find work. He has to try and stay out of trouble. It's a lot of pressure for someone so young.
And you're absolutely right, because they have this thing for prisoners now when they get out. And to me, it's like these big businesses, they get a tax cut because they hire an ex-convict. But
Yes, it's not, yeah.
But then this is a trap to me, because it's like once people know that you on parole, they treat you different. And they feel like they have their life in your hands too. Oh, I could get this person in trouble because they on parole. Let me go to the boss. Or let me complain and then have their parole. You know, it's always like that. Because I have a lot of people in my family who's on parole. I talk to them, I visit them, I share things with them. And yes, they have, and they get good jobs, but then they'll get a boss who has a power tripping. And then you won't tell your boss you're on parole, but as soon as he found out, he start treating you different and talking down to you like you ain't nothing. You know, so I understand.
And that's pretty much
Yeah,
what it is.
that's
And,
exactly what it is.
you know, his experience has been, you know, him working there. I think he was making like 10 cents an hour, even that, and not enough to provide. How much was it? Less than.
They got this
7
program
cents an
CEO.
hour.
They only get paid like $150 a week. He probably, when he get out here, probably be a part of that program too, because they making that mandatory. You come out, you got to do this job, working in the court building, doing hard work, and they only bringing home $150 to $200 a week. Grown men? Are you kidding me? And they working from 6 in the morning to 3, 4 in the afternoon, bringing home $200 a week. That's high schoolers don't even want that. But this is what they're forcing them to do.
And that's kind of what they have to accept, and that's why it's the way that it's set up is that no matter what they do, like even in prison, he was telling me, you know, they have schools and he's going to school and they're learning different skills, which is great because, you know, at least with certain skills, when he comes home, he can apply them and he can do his own independent work and not have to depend on anybody. But, you know, even going to school there, he can have a degree if he wants, but at the end of the day, he's still a felon with a degree. So
Right.
it doesn't matter how much he tries to apply himself, because basically at this point in his life, he can't take that away no matter how far he goes in with his education or, you know,
Yeah.
and that's something that he's gonna have to figure out how to survive
Just because you're
with
a
that.
felon doesn't make you a bad person. You made a mistake. He was 16. He had a gun. So what? He ain't killed nobody. It don't make him a bad person. He just made the wrong decision. He's still a great person. He could still be a greater person as a man. Okay, he walking around with 1 felony. So what? There's men walking around with 15 felonies and they walking with their head high. You know what I'm saying? 1 felony, that ain't nothing. It's a mistake. We humans. We supposed to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen like different things on the news about this guy. He's a white guy, and I think he raped like this 2-year-old black girl or something crazy like that. And I think he either got off on probation or like he didn't get
Yeah,
any
he didn't
time.
get no
He
time.
didn't get any time. And it's like you have situations like that that are far worse, in my opinion, than somebody with a gun who had a gun on them. For them to get so much time of their life and to be labeled as a felon, for somebody like to do a crime like that, to get a slap on the wrist and say go on your way because you have the rest of your life ahead of you because you're in school.
Yup.
You know, it's
That's the
But we don't do uproars for that.
think
We
more of us
do
gotta do jury
uproars for the
duty
wrong
because
things.
I think all of us avoid jury duty, and the reason he got off is probably because jury of his peers look like him.
Because your juries are your peers really supposed to be your neighbor and the people that
Sometimes
you
they
live
don't even
around.
make
That's
it to
your
the
real
job.
neighbor. That's your real peers. I'm not your peer. I don't know you. I just met you. So how can I judge you? You understand? Or say something or have any type of thoughts about you. We're not even in the same town. Like, they just switched everything around. Because black is beautiful. That's the most dominant thing. And black absorb every color in the planet. Nothing over dominates black. Sorry to my
We just have to transfer that into black power.
That's right.
And,
Yes,
and
we do.
the thing about it, is about it, brothers like him and hundreds of, tens of thousands of other like him incarcerated, you know, it's the game, it's the setup. Tupac talked about it, you know what I mean? And all of us is under the same scrutiny, you know what I mean? And the answer to that is, so while we talk about self-determination, meaning building institutions that we own so that we can hire our own. There's so many issues and problems in our community, there will be no lack of employment. You know what I mean? If we take to ourselves and believe in ourselves enough that we can create an economy that we control. We have to fight for it, of course.
We did it before.
You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying, because if you do that, it goes against the grain of you being a colonized person. They call it.
Yes.
Just one example. That
I
was
was
just
gonna
one.
say something about that.
Or Rosewood. Those are just a couple that we know of. But there was hundreds of black villages and communities around this country that was attacked because they represented being uncolonized. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not allowed for Africans in this society to be self-determined. You know what I mean? This whole system sits on the pedestal of our oppression. And they can't allow us to breathe. They can't allow us to stand up. Because if we stand up, then the system comes down. You know what I mean? So they attack our young people. Their communities, they're armed to the teeth. Armed to the teeth in white communities. You know what I mean? They have gun clubs.
They kids is
You know what I mean? And we tell our kids, well, you don't have a gun, you know.
I bring my kids to the shooting range.
As an African in America, to be without an arm is an insane, for me, it's insane. You gotta have self-defense, you know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what Black Wall Street was missing. They had everything else except for military.
No, they didn't miss that. They did.
They had defense.
They had, Marcus,
They had defense.
they had, yeah, when they came initially, what instigated that was that they was getting ready to hang a brother about looking at a white woman. And the brothers went in town and brought him out to jail and took him back to the community. And that's when all the white people got armed and went down there. But they had a standoff. The only thing that defeated them is they, like white people do, they like to bomb things.
Nice meeting you. I'll be back. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
They used the airplane to bomb the community because they couldn't take it man to man, gun to gun. You know what I mean? So they bombed the community. You know what I mean? A lot of those people were Garvey eggs. You know what I mean? And a lot of those
on the
people
forefront
came
right
out.
now, and that's really it. I truly feel that this is something that we should explore and figure out exactly before it's completely unleashed. How do we overstand the situation, and how do we move within it, knowing that we are anyone who's dedicated and committed to shifting this paradigm has to be revolutionary, has to be dedicated to changing, and not even changing, to creating an alternative to the system that's in place, and knowing that they already have laws and things in place to combat that and to criminalize that even more so than what we see in the new Jim Crow through the drug laws and criminalization through mass incarceration. The thing that I wanted to also just, in closing, because it is 9 o'clock, make sure that we're all thinking about is the things that are going on right now. We're looking at right now, like in 1981, when they passed the Military Law Enforcement Cooperation Act, which she mentions in the book, the SWAT teams, all this stuff now that we are normalizing did not exist before. These tanks on the ground, all this stuff, like now we see that in Chicago, like it's happening. All of these things are unfolding right now, right before our eyes. So it's knowing that militarized force, that martial law that a lot of people have been, saying is going to happen, all of that stuff, where it's happening right now. They have the boogeyman in place to usher it in because people feel like it's something different, like he's an extremist, everything's crazy. They don't even realize that all the steps have been put in place way before Donald Trump was even a thought. Way before Donald Trump was even on The Simpsons. Like these roles, these positions have been filled very strategically and planned prior to this. So we just have to understand that, and we need to mastermind, which is exactly what this is. We need to plot, and we need to think, and we need to figure out exactly what we do in response to this. In response to Chicago, I just wanted to point out that I had to realize within myself this concept and idea that we have, and a lot of us have it, and I've heard it in many different circles, in activist groups. This idea that some of us are different from others, right? Oh, I'm different because maybe other people don't view us as the same. oh, I'm not, I'm educated or whatever. We have all these ways that we're differentiating ourselves from other black people. And it's because we're buying into this idea of this criminal image that we have of ourselves. And we still have this European indoctrination of separation, which is an illusion, and it's not in African nature. And that's the point that I really want to keep driving home, is really like, that is not in our culture. This whole concept of, what do they call it, Charles Darwin, evolution theory, survival of the fittest, that is not our nature, that is not our culture. So we really have to be making a conscious effort to be pulling away from that and to see ourselves as one collective group and not isolate ourselves as if, because I'm not in the projects or because I've never been in jail, I'm better than the next black person. We cannot separate ourselves and think about ourselves in that way. And that's something that all of us are challenged to do, because we all have that within ourselves, because we get the programming from the same media, the same outlets that have been in existence. It's doing the same thing. The whole concept of education and being educated, all of that is part of that tool to keep us separated and divided and looking at each other differently. So I wanted to point that out, because when we think about Chicago and the fact that we got the military on the ground in Chicago, we don't know what's about to happen with that situation, right? But it's all unfolding right now. But most people don't know jack shit about Chicago. All we know about Chicago is what we see on the media. Most people who have never been to Chicago, I've never been to Chicago. We just know there's a lot of gang violence, there's a lot of drugs. We know what the media perpetuates about Chicago. And one thing that I realized recently about Chicago is that Chicago doesn't have any, because two sisters came into the shop while I was working, and they're telling me about Chicago, and they're like, oh, there's actually no community gardens in Chicago. I was like, ain't that interesting? If military troops surround Chicago and don't allow any resources in or out Chicago, how are people going to feed themselves? Basics, foundational things. And I just wanted to plant that seed, because that's really what we need to be thinking about. Foundationally, what are the basic needs of survival? Food, clothing, shelter, and security. That is our area of focus, and that's exactly where our attention should be. Our attention doesn't necessarily have to be on the oppressor, on the system. It needs to be in the resolve. What is the alternative? What is the position that we take on the ground to provide the things that we're dependent on the system for our very survival? Right? So, any closing remarks? You're welcome.
I mean, I think, because Malcolm X did the same thing. I mean, he's like, you have to learn or be like them. You have to learn, you have to educate yourself so you can navigate this boom or the system that we're in. So, I don't know, I just can point out when you said survival of the fittest. I'm like, well, we all should become fit.
Okay.
So we can survive in this context.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the sister that was here last time that we met, we do have the mission of overspending. Her and her king actually, like, we're working on a collaboration with them to unite with the THNK Book Club, so that we can actually have a dedicated training, like literally physical fitness program attached to THNK, so that we'd all be getting together once a week, and we're,
Yeah, but I'm not
doing
calisthenics. I'm saying fit in every
yeah,
aspect.
no,
I know, but yeah.
But you just reminded me, because we actually just talked about that. So that's something, as soon as it warms up, we're thinking April launch, that anybody who's involved in the book club, if we could just keep this beyond this setting and take it, because we absolutely need to,
I just want to make one point about Chicago. It just came to my mind when you were speaking about Chicago, the gangs, and the problems, and the issues, the military on the ground. And I don't know if people know about Fred Hampton, but he was one of the dynamic leaders of the Black Panther Party. He organized the largest Black Panther Party in Chicago. And in December 5th, 1965, Chicago police and other police agents went in the house, and somebody had spiked his Kool-Aid to the point where he was defenseless. And they ran up in his house, and they murdered him. And his wife was pregnant right next to him in the bed. And they murdered him because he had the audacity, you know what I mean, the courage to organize the gangs in the community into the Black Panther Party, you know what I mean, and to build programs for the community, free breakfast programs, school programs, sickle cell anemia. So I'm just saying that again to get back to what that brother was talking about, and she was her concern about him coming home and so if we learn from our elders what they did and build on that and anticipate, just like they do, they plan these things, like you said, years, 20 years out, you know what I mean? 50 years out, to get this community, they've been planning this for 50 years, to get Bed-Stuy back in the hands of white people. And the only way they could do that, since this was a homeowning community, they had to break the backs of black homeowners. Subprime lending broke the backs of the homeowners in this community. You know what I mean? The mass incarceration moved our warriors out. Like you said, they in jail. So now our enemy just walks in here and we look at them and, or we don't know what's happening, all the building is going up. And some of us think that's a good thing, unfortunately.
No, but you know what they doing? Like they fixing up the projects, right? Nobody asking, what are you doing? They don't know if they putting tunnels, pipes under there. They got all these little shafts all over up on top of the buildings like they clean. Ain't nothing getting clean. You don't even see nobody out there. But the people don't ask questions.
They do, because the people are beginning, because of all this activities going on around the country, people in the projects. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to another second meeting out in Red Hook. Nobody wants to have meetings like this all over the world, trying to come to a solution to solve this problem, a world problem. Because there's no other way. We either that because they destroying life as we know it. You know what I mean? Not like, what's the name say, destroying welfare as we know it. But they are destroying life as we know it.
Peace, family. I am Sanet M. As Neferka, also Priscilla.
Peace, family. Roundtree, Preston Roundtree.
And so Preston and I, we have an organization known as THNK Book Club, and a branch of that organization is High Tops and Heels, and we use that to be kind of like our media wing of doing our revolutionary activism and community organizing work. So one of the programs that we have in functioning right now, one of the programs that we have functioning right now is our literary program, which is THNK Book Club, and it's think without the I. And the reason why we chose to do that is because we're really trying to cultivate this idea and concept of unity and oneness, and not having that independent thought, and really getting back to the African worldview and the inner knowing that we are all one collective spirit, and really reclaiming our legacy and our worldview of unity and oneness in a collective nature.
So the name THNK, it stands for Thoughts, Hone, New Knowledge, and that's basically the concept that as we get people to think about the books that they're reading, it cultivates their ability to critical think. It also cultivates their ability to assess, to self-assess, and to just start to question a lot of the things about the world around them. Like the book club that we have, we're pretty much breaking it down to a book per month, but the book, it's not necessarily about just the content of the books. It's also about just getting people to really assess the social climate, to assess the environment that we're in, and just really apply some critical thinking to this, and really try to figure out, not only understand the conditions and the situations that we're in, but also figure out solutions and things that we can do and systems that we can implement to alleviate as well as restore a lot of the imbalances that we're dealing with right now.
Ashe. This work has been inspired by many, many elders, ancestors, and great revolutionaries who came before us. One that is most notably is Fred Hampton, the dynamic chairman of the Black Panther Party, and his message, which truly inspired this work of taking the act of education prior to action, because our work is to gear people towards doing the activism and the organizing and getting boots on the ground within the community, but ultimately realizing that we have to be educated, we have to know what we're dealing with prior to taking action. And that particularly came from a recording that I watched, that Preston and I watched, of Chairman Fred Hampton speaking to another organization about the importance of education prior to action, when he stated that when you look at, for example, in Haiti, Papa Doc, and all these movements that spur up all over the place, where people are acting and moving, but they don't really know what they're dealing with and what the form of the oppression is. So in many cases, you learn to hate the white man, and you don't realize that when the white power comes with a black face, that you're still dealing with the same oppression. So just realizing the necessity to really unfold and unmask and unveil this system and this oppression, imperialism, colonialism, whatever terminology we choose to use to describe this global oppressive system that that's imposed on us right now.
Show me some paper.
Another important element about the book club that we're doing right now. This is our first year doing it, a book a month. The first 12 books that we're doing are all by female authors within the African diaspora, because you know, when it comes to revolutionary thought, revolutionary theory, our sisters' voices are often kind of left out of that conversation, and we don't really know too many of too much of that wisdom that comes through our sisters. So we're just really trying to focus on that female mind, that female ideology, to really understand what that perspective is on the conditions and on the situations that we're currently facing.
Right. So we intentionally began January with the ISIS Papers by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. For one, it was the month of her transition. On top of that, we felt like it was critical to begin with the foundational piece, which is psychologically understanding the why and the nature of this oppression and why we're in this position to begin with. So moving forward with that, we also chose to do a completely different array of books. We also have Octavia Butler, which is science fiction, and of the black womb and the different expressions and variations that come from that. So it's a dynamic book club. It's attracting all kinds of people. And ultimately, it's really for us to just have the opportunity to hear different opinions, different thoughts, and within that find the unity, which is, you know, our ultimate struggle. Ultimately, really is to struggle to unite among different, you know, experiences and thoughts, and a constant pressure to be divisive among each other, and just within our own, you know, communities, feeling like we are so different from one another. So that actual building of community, instead of this concept of just saying that we're in community or that we're united, knowing that we are struggling with that, and that we're actually just living in neighborhoods and we're living together, but we're not actually organizing and supporting each other to the degree that we need to.
Powerful. So, can you guys leave your contact information and how to join the book club?
Okay. So you can contact us via hightopsandheels.com. High Tops is HIGHTOPS, and Heels HEELS.com. And if you want to register for the book club, it's free. All you have to do is come to the event. We're about to begin doing a live stream of the book club meetings as well. So if you're not in New York, also if you're interested in another state, and you know people who would want to get together and you want to host a book club as well, that is also something that we're encouraging other people to do. And you can find all the information at THNK.eventbrite.com. So that's THNK.eventbrite.com. And we're on Instagram. My personal Instagram is at Priscilla, Priscilla.Amado, AMADO. So Priscilla.Amado is my Instagram.
You can catch me on Instagram at Preston Roundtree. That's PRESTONROUNDTREE. No pay, no space, no period.
Thank you guys.
Peace, family.
Thank you.
Black Power.
Black Power.